Guys, Happy New Year and welcome to today's podcast episode. I've got a fantastic guest for you today, Dana Shamas, and she's got a fantastic experience and expertise that'll really resonate with those in the wellness audience, talking about intuition, talking about transition from corporate to wellness and leadership. And it's going to be a really fascinating discussion. I'm happy to have her on the show. Dana, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm a overarching theme guy, so I love to delve into themes and topics for each discussion. So kind of set the stage and talk about your experience and how you transitioned into doing what you're doing today.
That's a really overarching big question. So I always say that I've had many lives in one. So lots of people envision this transition from corporate into wellness or passion business as this kind of linear line that has direction. And that was just never my experience. Never in a million years would I have guessed that this is where I would have ended up or landed. And yet I'm now in a place where I'm utilizing all of my skills together, and it's really fun and exciting. But really, it was, a step-by-step process of following different things. I started off in investment banking and business. I did international development, which I was super passionate about, but really found that I wanted to learn more. And so I went to business school for social entrepreneurship. So taking kind of all those good things and how you move business forward in a different kind of way. And, as life would have it, I ended up in Houston to be with my family and kind of have a slower pace of life. And the universe just put me in a place where I was back in teaching yoga, back in the wellness space. And I had a client who was like, you need to do this all the time. More people need you. And so she really encouraged me to open my own business. And so I ended up opening a small wellness boutique that let me do kind of all the things that I was really good at and delve deeper into all of those things. So it's in that space that I did therapeutic yoga, I did breath work, I did meditation, sound healing, and kind of found more and more tools, more and more practices. And what I found was that all my clients were professionals. So all my clients were entrepreneurs, they were CEOs, CFOs, they were lawyers, they were doctors, they were people with advanced degrees. And so what they were coming to me for was, wellness and therapeutic yoga, but also this deeper understanding and deeper connection and really coaching. Like, how do we move from this place of survival into this place of thriving? And how do we get the more in life that we can experience? And what I found is that was really tapping into the intuition, right? How do you teach everybody to connect to their higher selves, really understand their energy, own their energy? Because at the end of the day, burnout, feeling pulled in a million different directions, not achieving your goals. Essentially, that's you giving away your energy. And whether that be to other people, whether that be to things, whether that be to negative thought patterns, it's all taking you out of your energy and your power. And so now I really bring that all together in my coaching practice and all my offerings. So, and have really refined all the tools that I use to support people in that process.
That's an amazing story. And the older I get, the more I realize that, tuning into your body and just listening to your body and kind of shutting everything out, which brings us to this idea of intuition in the workplace. And so, our world is very chaotic, and how can we use intuition as a powerful asset in professional environment for leaders, decision makers? I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
So what's really interesting is that even from a young age, I saw that the leaders around me actually really used their intuition. And anybody who's been on a trading floor has seen people use their intuition 100 times over. And it's not that, like, yes, we use the analytics. Yes, we use the data. Yes, we use the information. But Like what gives you the edge, what moves you over, what leads you to that next level of success or next new idea or next big thing is really your intuition, right? It's your passion, it's what you know and you can feel and you can put together is gonna be what happens, is gonna be what people want, right? If you're always looking backwards, you're never gonna find the new innovative thing, right? And so the only way that you're going to find that is by tapping into your intuition.
Mm.
So what's been really fun for me is over the past several years, the clients that I've worked with, they now get the feedback in their year-end reviews that their intuition is one of their greatest assets to their team, to their company, and their superiors are like, yeah, you need to use that more. You need to refine that more. We want more of your intuition because you're always on target. Like when you tap into your intuition and you're like, this is, like I know people are worried about this over here, but this thing, this is where we need to go. That's so fun and so fun to see, but it's really this process of people, leaders, learning to tune into what they know is important and what their truth is and what their intuition tells them. And so the more that they use that, the more they come into that practice, right? The more you use it as a tool and a skill set versus like a hunch, right? Or a gut feeling or something that just magically happened, right? If we can learn that, no, it's like running, the more you run, the better you get. The easier it gets, right? The more you practice quietly listening to how you receive an information, the better and better you get at understanding that information and the more courage and ability you have to follow that information. And in our current world where things are changing at such a rapid pace and where we just have no idea what the next thing is going to be or what the next fire is going to be or the next obstacle or challenge or what have you, being able to stay centered, being able to stay connected, being able to stay in your energy, your intuition, and really listen to your inner guidance is always going to lead you in the right direction and is always going to lead you into what is going to make the situation better, what is going to allow the team to thrive, and what's going to allow you to thrive and be excited. So I think in the years to come, it's really an essential tool for all leaders.
One thing with my clients is, I talk about intuition, something I've honed since, 11 years old. And it'll sometimes these insights or it's kind of baffling to outside people, but then if you follow it, it actually leads you to the right place. And you actually remind me of Wendy Rhodes on the Billionaire series, where she's coaching traders and telling them to use their intuition for their hunches and their edge. Yeah. So one thing that you mentioned about intuition is that it's a skill and it's a tool. And so is this something that you're built or, because I've honed it since early age, but let's say people haven't used it, how do they start to develop it? Like what's tools and skill sets can they use to hone it?
Sure. Well, certainly energy work, breath work, meditation are all ways that you can learn how to feel more fully. Yoga practices that allow you to learn how your body feels, right? All of us have this experience because all of us, live in a world where from a very young age, you're trained to follow the rules, do things a certain way. And a lot of that is not trusting your intuition, right? And not trusting your inner guidance, but following the rules and what people outside of you tell you to do, right? And so all of us have to use a little bit of grace and a little bit of self-appreciation to be like, okay, this is a new skill. I have to unlearn some of the things that I've been taught. But really that practice of getting quiet so that instead of listening to the chatter or listening to what is in the other voices that are in your head is really the first step, and I personally love listening meditations because one, they're really easy. So most people who have never meditated before, I want you to know, like, there are a bazillion meditation practices. There is one that does work for you. But listening meditations are usually easy because it's something to focus on. It has a quality of entrainment, which allows, sound, all sound, and trains your brain in a certain kind of way. And so if you are listening to harmonic sounds and you are really listening to harmonic sounds or positive things, your brain entrains to a different state. And so instead of being, the yappy, 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 busy, 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 thinking, 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 it comes into a more harmonious state, which means that it becomes easier for you to discern what is your voice, what's your inner knowing, and what is something else. Is that voice that you keep hearing, like, is that your kindergarten teacher? Is that from some commercial? Is that some programming from someplace else? Or is it really your inner guidance? And the more that you can really listen and understand and know how your inner guidance sounds and feels, the easier it becomes to hear it and to trust it.
Mm.
But that process starts by increasing your awareness, right? So increasing your physical awareness, which means being physically comfortable in your body. If you have a lot of pain in your body, if, it is just hard to sit still, it's hard to listen. That's the truth, right? So you start where you start. And most of us, everybody has something where they feel in the zone. You already have something where, like, oh, if I could just sit in the hammock in the backyard, then I can, like, quiet my mind. If I could just do X, my mind would relax. If I were, whatever that is, whatever that practice is, I can guarantee you that you should start there and find meditation practices that utilize that thing, whether it's listening, whether it's sound, whether it's water, whether it's doing something like drawing or painting, looking at something. There are all kinds of meditations, but whatever gets you in the zone, that's where you start. And you just develop that into a deeper practice of awareness. Like, do what you already know works.
It really reminds me of just like athletes and getting into the zone and understanding their bodies. And like I say, you gave so many insights. One thing that I have a question about, because I'm empath, so I'm very highly sensitive to the energies and everything. Is intuition harder for people that are less empathic, or is it harder for extroverts? Like, because I noticed that people that are introverted, empaths, are more intuitive. So maybe they have to develop that side. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I think what I find is that everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, right? And everybody has their challenges. And so for many empaths, it's really hard because they view their skills and their gifts as detriments, because for so long it's like painful. If you feel everything in a room, like, you don't want to feel anymore. Like, please stop the feeling.
Yeah.
I don't want to listen. There are too many voices that I can hear, right? Like,
Yeah.
too much information is coming in. That lesson and challenge is how you regulate that information and how you receive in that information and how you set boundaries and how you do self-care so that your system can take in that information appropriately. If that's not who you are, right, then that's a practice of settling and softening, right? So that you can take in more information, so you can feel the subtler things. And so I wouldn't say that one is necessarily easier than the other. It's just that you have to face your own challenges, and the grass is always greener. If I were just empathic, it'd be so much easier to be intuitive, right? So you have to learn to love what your gifts are and what your skills are, and really embrace them and learn how to work with them. That's the biggest challenge, whatever that is.
Like I said, intuition, we could have a whole webinar on that. So kind of moving back to the C-suite, and what are some common challenges leaders face today, and how can they use tools like intuition, breath work, energy work to navigate these challenges? Any personal self-care practices you can recommend? We're all ears.
Yeah. So, what I have been saying recently is that now it just feels like we are experiencing a lot of life all the time. Like somehow, we say it's like faster, but what I see is that people are experiencing more major life events in shorter periods of time, right? And so, like in 1 year, somebody may have an illness, they may have a death in the family, and they may change jobs, right? That's like 3 major life events in 12 months. And that's just a lot of life, right?
Yeah.
And business leaders, so if you're managing people during this time, right, you are faced with a lot of people experiencing a lot of life, right? And you are experiencing a lot of life. And in the business world, that may mean like more challenges in the business environment, which I think every single person is dealing with now, right? There are significant changes. There are different cultures and generations coming together that have different expectations and needs. And it is a lot of life, right? Like that's a lot of energy all at once. And so, my biggest suggestion is to make sure that you take time every day. Like in our current environment, I really do believe this is a daily practice to allow your system to process that energy. When we're in a go, go, go environment where we just move from one thing to the other thing to the other thing, and we are dealing with a lot of life and a lot of energy, we'll get to the end of the day. And if we don't allow our systems to process, which means quiet time, which means downtime, whatever that is for you, it could be a walk, could be meditation, it could be a bath, it could be drawing, whatever that is, that's the quiet time that allows your system to process the events of the day. Mm-hmm. The energy of the day. It will keep you from getting to Friday and being 100% fried and needing the 2 full days to barely get back to functionality. If you can take time every single day to allow your system to process energy, you're going to maintain your energy at a higher level throughout the week and more easily regulate your emotions and be centered and connected.
Interesting. I love how you describe processing the energy and processing the emotions. Kind of describe what like when you say processing energy emotions, what does that look like? What does that feel like? I just want to get a better sense of that concept.
Yeah. So, I mean, the easiest thing for me is like at the end of the day, if you're kind of like in this state of you can feel there's a lot of energy. Like, for many people, it could feel like anxiety. That's the truth, right? Which is anxiety is just a way, like it's just an expression for unprocessed emotion and energy in your system. There's just so much energy and so much emotion that's right at the surface that it's hard to relax and settle, right? You're just kind of like in that hanging on mode, I would say. Or just getting by, like just surviving, like just getting to the next thing.
Yeah.
So if you could take a moment, really, and that by that I mean like 15 to 30 minutes at a minimum, be quiet, take a few breaths, and just start to feel what is there. Right. And allow that, whatever that emotion is, whatever that energy is, allow it to be okay. Allow yourself to acknowledge it and allow it to move through. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be something you have to fix or change or problem solve around, but a lot of it is just allowing that energy to move out and through your system
Mm.
instead of holding and staying so that you can make it to the next thing.
Mhm.
Does that
Wow.
make sense?
Yeah, it's very fascinating because I tend to hold on to things and like my wife in describes me as like very heavy, emotionally heavy, or people who talk to me, they say I'm very serious, and like I look at my nieces and nephews, like they're just very like light and just very, carefree, and so it's very fascinating. So kind of rounded out vision change for 2024. How do you perceive this wave of change affecting workplace and the role that intuitive practice and emotional intelligence is evolving in this landscape?
Yeah, I just think it's so important. There are going to be a lot of changes in 2024. We all know it. We don't know what they're going to be, but everybody can feel it, right? There's this anticipation of like, where are we going to be in 12 months? Like, it's going to be totally different. And so that's why I say like these practices are really important because, it's what's going to allow you to thrive. When we're in a place with this much change, you can get swept up into the change and kind of holding on to the past and in the middle of the chaos or the whirlwind, right? Which is, that's really not a pleasant place to be, and really doesn't allow you to thrive. And so, the practices that bring you back to center, that connection to your knowing, right? Like you don't have to rely on the changes around you because your inner knowing is going to guide you to the next best step, no matter, who is president or no matter, how trade is going. Like you're going to be able to find a next step that allows you to thrive, allows your business to thrive, and allows your team to thrive. And so coming into a place where that's the truth sets up the paradigm very, very differently, right? So instead of being scared of all the changes, you can really open it up to what those opportunities are and welcome in that dynamic of like, oh, how can we create 2024 so that when we step into 2025, we're like in a new and better and amazing place where everybody can thrive, right?
Yeah, yeah, I love that. What a fantastic way to end everything. And how can people find out more about you and see the work that you do?
Sure. My website is danashamas.com. I have individual coaching, group coaching. I'm just launching a regular physical practice. So I actually found in my own practice that um, people were craving kind of more of this regular weekly, monthly yoga and meditation. So for 2024, I've just launched a new product that allows us to do that. But those are all great touch points to find out what I do at different levels.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation, especially new insights about intuition and processing emotions. Like I said, more I talk to individuals such as I get so many insights. Um, and for the audience, be sure to check out Dana's social media links and give her a follow. And with that, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Chris.